Good morning, everyone. This is Jim McDaniel, Marketing and Technology Director here at URL Insurance Group. Thanks for taking your time out of your day to join us to preview our new Medicare Advantage online enrollment platform that we're calling MedicareNow. Before we get into the demonstration today, I just want to talk a little bit about the need we had and how we came to find this system. So we hear a lot from agents of wanting the ability to be able to conduct Medicare sales compliantly online from start to finish. There's a few systems out there that tout that they can do that, but also the ability came up is to be able to enroll face-to-face with a client and over the phone. And a lot of the different systems that we researched, some could do one or two of those, but they couldn't necessarily do all three compliantly. And part of what makes that all kind of come together is an automated e-scope of appointment that makes a lot of this work, which we'll get into a little bit here later. The other thing that we hear a lot about is, hey, I need a system. I need a customer relationship management system. I need a CRM that I can keep my clients and my prospects in and be able to send them information and keep track of who's who instead of a paper file or a spreadsheet or whatever I'm using currently. So we really wanted a system that had that, and we wanted a system that was fast and reliable and accurate, that could quote things quickly across many popular carriers. And lastly, the ability for a system like this to enroll electronically. And we know that when things get enrolled electronically, it's more accurate data that goes into the system. There's less hands in the pot. You know, when you send that paper application to an insurance carrier, somebody's sitting there and taking what is written on your application and typing it in. When you get more hands in the pot like that, you get dirty data and things, you know, get slowed down at the carrier. The other thing with an electronic enrollment system, it's going directly into the carrier system. So there's that process of having to convert it from paper to eventually electronic goes away. It gets in the system faster in hopes that cases get issued faster and payments come to you in the form of commissions faster. So it's really a win-win when we use electronic technology to enroll applications into carrier systems, and I believe that's why a lot of you are on here today. So after months of research by Christy and her team and here in the technology department, we have decided to work with Connexure on a system that has all the tools and features that I just described that we wanted and more. On this call today, I have Joanna Ruffcorn, who is our Senior Client Services Coordinator, who we work with on a weekly basis to get this system set up. And she's going to do a training demo today on this system and kind of show some of the things I talked about. She's going to go over the dashboard and book of business, the broker personalized website address that is part of this system, the e-scope of appointment, the quoting process, and how the electronic enrollments work. If you have questions as we go through today, please type them in. I'll read them aloud at the end and we'll answer them to the best of our ability. One of the things I will mention is the system that we're going to see today is a demo system. This isn't what our system is going to look like. It will function very similarly, but we've customized it to make it what it needs to look like for our brand and how our things look and have the carriers and tools that we want in it. So what you see today will just kind of be a demonstration account. At this point, I know that the question is going to come up, what carriers are available? When we launch the system, we'll be able to let everybody know the carriers that will be part of it. And then the next question I know we're going to get is, when will the system be available? Right now, we've done most of the setup that's been required. We have submitted the information to CMS, and that's where we're at right now. We're waiting on CMS approval to launch this. Once we do that, then we can show it to everybody, and we'll be able to launch the system out so agents can begin to use it. We anticipate that to be the second quarter of this year. So the next quarter coming up is when we think that will occur. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over here to Joanna. I'll make you the presenter, Joanna. And you should be okay to go. I can see your screen.
Awesome. So you're seeing just that URL insurance dashboard right now. This is your guys' home screen, and it is what it will look like every time you go to log in. Over here is where your username and password will go. This is unique to each and every individual that will be automatically assigned to you, something that we're working closely with Jim and his team doing. So every time you come to log in, you'll put in your username. We'll have a generic password set up for you when you first log in, and you'll be prompted to change it right away to something unique to yourself that you can remember. And of course, as always, the last thing to point out on this screen is if you ever forget your password, the forgot password link right there will go ahead and send you an email to get that reset. So once you have your information in, you can just go ahead, let's see, log into the site here. When you log into the site, it'll take you right to your dashboard here. As you can see, up here contains your login information. It'll say, welcome, John Smith, it'll have your personal name up there, my account, which we'll touch on here in a few minutes, and of course the sign out screen. Along the top are your navigation view dashboard, which this is the dashboard right here. It will keep a running total, completed enrollment, any tasks that you have open, which I'll point out where the tasks are here in a few seconds. And then you can select a date range for how you want these reports to run. There's really no data in here right now for your guys' site since it's new. So
I'm sorry, Joanna, I kind of thought on this demonstration today we were going to be using one of your demo accounts for this, and we weren't going to be using our account.
Oh, we typically kind of do it with the site in itself.
So,
there's no carrier information into it right now or agent information. It's just kind of a site of what yours would look like.
Right, but you don't have a demo site that you can demonstrate that has like fake data in it to show people what these reports and things look like?
Not on these reports type of portion. We don't. The profiles and stuff we do. The reports, okay. I can give you a brief example of what they'll look like. It's a very, I don't want to call it generic, but it's a generic list of everything down there. They're very self-explanatory reports, and you can always export them to any format that you prefer, in Excel, a PDF. That's always an option on that. The task will always show up here. It'll have everything filled out all the way across. And it helps keep track for you, your days past due, when you have it completed. You can check if it's completed. You can filter by all your tasks, your completed task, or your incomplete task right there. And that's just a very basic list view. In the list view, you can also click on the line entry, and it will take you right to that profile. So with that said, we'll go on over to the next screen. The profile screen, basic, if you want to search, you just, sorry, I would have had all those cachings out if I would have known I was doing this. You'll put in a search. All your profiles will return down here. When the profiles return, you just click on the name, and it will take you right to any information that you have had entered for that particular member. This is on the start consultation. This is where you build your member profiles. So while we're here, I'll just go ahead and type in the minimal information to build a profile, so you can see the process of how we work through all of these tabs as you're completing basically your user experience when you're actually meeting with your client and going through. Just a second here. I'm just going to be filling out the required fields as we go through this. Of course, you would always want to fill out the complete forms so that you get the most information you can in for this client. As you can see on this screen, you have the option to send access to the consumer site. When you do that, a pop-up will come up and it'll ask for your email address. But mainly we're here to do the broker experience. So we're going to go ahead and continue to your scope of appointment. The scope of appointment is electronically sent on our end via email over to your member. When you have your member receive this email, they will receive it to connect out to a link to go to your scope of appointment form. And once they fill it out and return it, you receive back an email that the form has been completed by the member and that you need to go in and finish filling out the form. And I'm pulling up that scope of appointment right now. This is what your member will see when you email them the scope of appointment form. They'll just click on what, the products that you want to discuss with the agent. They can obviously select as many as they would like. Then they just fill out their information and they will send it back here to you. Oops. And the way you can see that the member has actually filled this out is when you come back to your scope of appointment screen. I get a refresh on this. Right here is where you can see that the member completed the scope of appointment on their end. When you click on the waiting to be submitted, it pops up like this for the agent to review and for you to complete with your own information. And now you can see, once the scope of appointment form is completed, a new entry is made, and it says submitted. Where these go from here nightly is they are exported via a PDF that Jim would have access to every night. So once you have your scope of appointment received, the next thing would be just going through your client's health, zip code, put in their age range, their health status. If they have any sort of a subsidy help, if you're not certain, always just click the uncertain. This is one nice feature that we have here. You can fill up what we refer to as our drug cabinet. You can put as many drugs as you need to that the client is having in here. You can put it by the dosages that they prefer. The nice thing is you will see on the end where you go into compare plans, it will tell you if that prescription company allows, say, the 40 milligrams to be filled or not, or the frequency, if it's too much for the 30 per month frequency and whatever have you. The nice thing about this system is it helps compare all of that in for you. We'll just put in a couple drugs just so you guys can see. And as I stated, this drug cabinet will save carry over year to year for you as well. So that's very nice when you have an ongoing member that you work with year to year. And you would be able to just verify with them, the next time they call in, hey, is this still your dosage of Lipitor? Has any of your medications changed? And get it updated easily. It's also kind of nice. I think it gives the member a user experience that you kind of remember them and their needs, and they don't have to go through it every year necessarily. Next up would be the pharmacy. You can put in an address for the pharmacy you want. You can just select one that comes up. You can skip the pharmacy as well if they're not sure where they're going to go to. Excuse me. And here's kind of the nuts and bolts of where all your plans sit. As you see, we just have our demo plans up for everybody right now. You'll see all these tabs, your Medicare Advantage. They're just simple click tabs all the way through. If you want to view details to discuss a plan with a member, here's what our View Details tab looks like. It introduces the plan name for you. It'll spell out your premium for you, all your total costs. As you know, most plans would have a Medicare star rating in it. You can link back to the pharmacy directory. It shows you your estimated drug costs per month here. Just a thing to note about this screen, it does vary from carrier to carrier. It's very reliant on the information that the carrier provides to us. For the most part, under all these benefits, I would say this is the minimum that every carrier does provide to us. But just know, if you're used to seeing some items on there and they're not there, it's because the carrier doesn't provide them in a format like this to us. The other items that you can typically find in here are the summary of benefits, a PDF application if one is provided, a description of the star ratings, really any plan documents that a carrier provides for us to put on our platform. This is where you would be seeing all those documents. Another nice feature is that if you want to highlight the differences between two plans offered and be able to point them out quickly, you can compare up to 3 plans at one time. And as you can see, they just side by side them. If you have a third plan, it will just put on a third column out to the right side so that it keeps everything lined up for easy comparison. Pull it back here to the previous. One other item that we do have that you can use from the screen, it's called Send Quote. What that does is it sends the client directly a quote from you as the broker via email, and it will allow them to go ahead and shop the plans that you pulled out for them and compare them, as well as go through the screens to fill out their enrollment application. When you do send these via a quick quote, you do still get credit for them on the back end. It links up to your name and gives it a specific URL once you send it. Alrighty. So that is the basic sit down with a client start to finish. The couple buttons I didn't touch on up here, start new enrollment, pretty self-explanatory. When you click on start a new enrollment, it's just going to take you back to that beginning screen to go through front to back. whenever you click Start New Enrollment, it's a refresh to what you were just doing. Therefore, if you did not save that client information that you had been working through, it could wipe some of it out. Send Quick Quote. It's basically just a shortcut to not having to put all of the client information in. It will take you right up to those compare plan screens. And in that case, once you pull up the Quick Quote, you would still put in all the client information just like you would have before. Something I did not point out, you can actually customize this message over here to the right. I think it's nice when brokers do that, as it just really customizes it from you over to your agent instead of using just a customary default that's in there.
I had a couple questions that came across. Maybe we should address some of them now because it's right around this part.
Sure.
So first question from Mark is, can you upload a manual SOA if the customer does not use email?
You cannot upload it into this system. Basically, what you would just have to do is keep that on your own files, for your compliant reasons. And I don't know what your guys' back end is like, Jim, if you guys compile those for your agents, or what your process necessarily is. But the only scope of appointment form that would get kept here within our database are ones that were filled out electronically.
Okay, great. Barb asks, do we get a notice via email that it's out there, or do they have to check? And that would be the return of the SOA. So once the person fills that out and submits it, how does the agent get notified that that's back in there?
Yep, you typically get an email. Let me tell you, check your junk email. No matter how many times I've done these demos, and for some reason, I still get them filtered through my junk email, but you will get notification back that the client has completed that scope of appointment form and it is ready for you to go fill out your portion of it.
Right.
Another item, that's great to use is, this is kind of when you would start utilizing out your task a little bit, just so then you can set up a reminder for yourself to touch base or to follow up within that profile to make sure that it is completed.
Okay. Dawn asks, can a copy of the SOA PDF be sent to the agent for our file? Because you had mentioned, like, I would have access to it, but I would assume they would have access to it as well, because there's not much I'm going to do with it.
They get sent to your SFTP, is where they're going to be sent to, Jim, when they export.
Okay, so they don't sit in here anywhere that they can access it, but we have.
Correct.
We're storing it.
Correct.
Okay. All right. A pharmacy question here from Barb. Can you compare pharmacies for prices in that pharmacy tool that you had?
No, the only pricing that it really gives is whatever the drug company offers. That's the only price compare. It doesn't take it all the way down to the pharmacy in itself.
Okay. Is the comparison able to be sent to a client via email? And that's what you showed, right?
So yeah, when you compare plans, if you compare them and send them to the client, it will put them out there. The other thing you can do, like, I don't know if let me pull it actually right up from here. You can send them access to a consumer site right here. And when you send them access, actually, I won't be able to open it, but what it does is it still tags back to your name. You put in the email address, and they'll get two emails, one with the email address and one containing this code for them to log actually into the consumer site. Once they do that, they can basically navigate, with you. Say you're on the phone with them and they're on the phone, you can navigate through with them, and they can compare the plans right alongside you as well.
Okay. You had mentioned, if you're going through this and you don't complete it, you might lose information, and the question came up is, how do you save? How do you make sure? And you make sure by getting through the entire process so that person gets in there, correct?
Always click continue. Anytime you click the continue at the bottom of the button, or at the bottom of the page, it will save this page.
Okay, so even if you don't get all the way to the end, and you came back to this contact, at least on the first page,
right,
then that contact's in there, and then you can continue on at any time.
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Daniel asks, is the calculator button just a generic calculator for quick use? Also, I noticed you can add notes and tasks to an active profile. Where do these notes appear? So the calculator button, is that a generic calculator?
Here. Actually, we're right on the screen right now.
Oh, there we go.
I'll just kind of back up a second here. I use the search profiles screen here. And I wanted to pull up that example of where you can see, this is the client that I had just built in. It shows the last updated. I didn't put a phone or email in. And it would show the enroll history, but there's nothing there as of now. So the task and the calculator, I could just pull it right up. The calculator is just your generic calculator to do any quick numberings that you need to. Right here is where you're going to add a note or task. If you add a task, I don't know, off or social security number. You can add a task, and you set obviously when you want to follow up on it, and you save the task. If you just want to add a note, save a note, I don't know, for a talking point, so to say. Now you can see down here all of the history that you just put in to this profile. You can see the history that I just put in as well. The other item that you would now be able to see, if we go back to the dashboard, now here's your task. So this is where it's going to tell you, your brief task detail you put in there, when you want it completed by, and when you're done, you would just check if completed, obviously. And then when you click on the beneficiary name, it is going to take you over to that profile.
All right. So on the profile, I kind of have a question about that. This is basically all the fields that you could enter for a person on their profile, right? Anything additional would be just entered as notes.
Correct.
All right. Is that one? Maybe you're going to get to this, but how do they sign the application? Is that later on?
Signing the application would be, let's see, when you, the computer's going slow right now. When you actually go through the enrollment of it, hopefully I pick one that has an application for me. When you go through the actual entire enrollment application, it's at the end of the application is where the broker will actually sign on it. There. This is just a demo enrollment application that we can look at here quick. This is just our very, very basic one built into the Connecture site. Every carrier has a different form that they use. as you can see, I'm just filling out the required fields on it. Every application is almost going to take you through the same basic thing, putting in the Medicare information, the STEP information. You're always going to have your series of questions. I'm probably going to get to the end of this demo one, and there's probably not going to be a place to sign on this one. That's just going to be my luck. You read through the attestations, and then these would be right there is where your beneficiary would sign, and then you submit your enrollment.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Tracy asks, is there a link within each quote screen to search for an in-network provider? I think when you were back in quoting.
Yeah, it kicked me out of there. Let me. Should have opened it up in a different tab. So I'm sorry, did you say for an in-provider physician or for?
Is there a link within each quote screen to search for an in-network provider? So if you had a carrier, can you then search? Is there something that links to the carrier's provider network to see?
Yeah. All righty. Right down here. Sorry, I kind of moved quick. You have your physician formulary and pharmacy finder. Another quick little tool. It's not going to enable probably until we get actual plans up. Oh, nope, there it went. Sweet. Here it'll list out the plans, and you'll be able to find your pharmacy. There you go. It will, you see the pharmacy type to the right? It right there would tell you, oops, if it would be an in-network pharmacy for you.
Cool. I know you had showed some notes and things in the ability to add drugs. There's not an ability to add doctors, is there? That would just be something that would be in the notes field, I guess?
Yep, you would want to add the doctors probably into the note field so that you know it year over year. When you fill out the enrollment application specifically, you can, at that point, choose your in-network doctor and put it on the enrollment application. Odds are you may, but you may not go back and look at that year over year to review, who last year's doctor was and whatnot. But yes, I would definitely recommend putting that in the notes. Additionally, our demo plans don't offer it, but this will help you find your physicians as well to get an in-network physician. The tool that I was just on where I showed you the in-network pharmacies.
Yep. Back to the task question real quick. I'm assuming if you set a task, it'll somehow alert you that you have a task. Does it just send you an email? How do you get alerted that the task is due?
When you log into your portal, that's how you track it.
So it's not sending you an alert. There's no link to sync it with Outlook or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
It's just all tracked by your portal.
Gotcha. So I've had a couple questions on people that have existing databases or spreadsheets or something of the like, CRM, to get clients in here in mass. And maybe you can just refresh my memory and theirs on how we would do that process.
You know, I would actually have to take that one back. I am not fully certain if we can do like a Excel type, you know, like an Excel type of upload. And numbers.
Okay, we'll follow up with everybody on that one. I have another question from Stephanie here. After the app is submitted to the carrier electronically through the system, would we as agents have access to the app if we need to reference something in the future?
Yeah. Right. Just let me pull this up here. You would be able to pull it if you search the profile. Right here on enroll history, it right here, since I opened up that application, it will pop back up for me to go back through and complete it. I don't want to jump back over to it, but if my application would have been completed, you would have seen the date and time that it was completed, the confirmation number that automatically generated, and there'd be a PDF copy of it right here.
Great. Freddie asks about if you're completing the app and something's left unanswered, it's not going to, anything that's required, your system is going to ensure that the form is filled with information before it's going to let you submit or continue and submit, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. You can put existing clients into the system for tracking, absolutely. So there's not really much querying in here, meaning that you can't send a mass email to a certain, there's no emailing from here for like marketing to a list of people or sorting members by a common characteristic. There's that feature exist?
Nope, not within this portal.
Okay. It says, can a SOA PDF be put in the same area as the completed application? No, it doesn't exist in that area.
No, but you want to know what? I actually kind of like that as a noted enhancement.
Okay.
You know, just something to take back to our teams as a thought.
Sure. So. Yeah, the question also on the doctors came up. A lot of people seem to think that would be a nice area to add. You know, you add pharmacists and then you can add doctors too. And maybe that integrates with the network search or something. I don't know. Okay, yeah, so you can go ahead and proceed. That kind of got us caught up on those questions we've got so far, and we've got a lot. Thanks so much, everybody. Keep them coming over. I'll keep injecting them into the conversation here as we go.
All righty. Yeah, great questions. Always enjoy them. One other item I want to highlight out up here. Next to your name is this My Account link. What that will take you to is obviously your agent information, and you'll see your username and your MPN in there. The biggest thing on this page that I want to show is your marketing shopping link. This is your personalized URL that you can share with any of your members to give them access to the consumer site and, you know, to shop around for the plans, and you will still get credit for this. The biggest thing to note here, my biggest probably takeaway from this meeting is click the copy button when you want to send that to a client via email. If you just highlight this URL right in here, you're not going to capture the entire link. So if you click on the copy button, let me open a browser and I'll show you. You paste it right into the link here. Right now, the authentication is up just because your sites aren't live, just so you know that. member would not see this. Using that URL will take the member right to the consumer site. The way you know that they are in it, if you were to be on the phone with them when they open up the link, your information will actually populate up here in the right corner. That's how it tracks to tie an enrollment back up to you once the consumer shops and compares their plans and selects a plan to enroll in.
And what you just showed is basically the side of it where a consumer could come and do their own enrollment.
That's correct. Yeah.
Through this site, right?
Yeah, and then the agent would still get the credit for it.
Yep.
And really, that's all that's under that My Account screen, the main highlight right there for you. It still has your resource boxes down here. If you wanted to do a physician finder, excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. When you are done with this area, if you just go ahead and hit cancel, it's going to pop you right back over to your dashboard screen. And I'm going to kind of pause here. Any questions on that personalized URL link under My Account? And I just want to reiterate, you have to hit copy.
Right.
do want to reiterate
copy that, you won't get it all.
Possibly not.
Yeah. When the client. All right. So Tracy asks, when the client goes on an agent site, does it only show the carriers that the agent is appointed with, or does it show all the plans that are available to the client? So there'll be a set list of carriers that will be available on this system. And it will only show the carriers that we kind of decide that will be available on it, that we've worked with those carriers to be part of this system. So we're working with the carriers right now for approval and all those things and CMS to get it on there. So when we launch the system, we'll make all those carriers known as to what they are and how that'll all function. All right, that sounds good. Keep on trucking.
Alrighty. That's actually really basically the only overview I have here.
Okay.
I'll open up any general questions. Jim, did you have any questions about any functionalities out here for the agents?
No, it's just I got a couple questions I had mentioned at the beginning, but I'll kind of reiterate it again. We plan to be able to launch this and agents to sign up for it the second quarter of this year, so the next quarter coming up here. Things are at CMS right now. We're waiting for approval from them, and then once that's done and everything's with the carriers are finalized, then we'll be able to roll it out. This is a little bit of a training webinar in a sense, but we really just kind of wanted it to be an introduction to the system, so you could get an idea of what some of the tools are that it's going to have. When if this is a system that you decide makes sense for your agency to adopt, we'll have a lot of one-on-one in-depth training with ourselves and Connecture to make sure that you can utilize all these tools as the best of your ability and the ability to use the tools that are within that system. So there were a couple other questions that kind of came over. I'll just reply to everybody individually on those, some kind of specific stuff that people had, and a couple things I'm not sure of that I'll need to follow up with Connecture on. But anything else that you want to add? If anybody else has any other additional questions, go ahead and send them over. Otherwise, we'll probably get wrapped up here in a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything come over. So we did record this session today. We will we'll distribute it to everybody that signed up. So if you want to review anything on it, otherwise you can direct any questions you have to me or Christy. She's out of the office right now, but she'll be back in tomorrow. Thanks everybody for your time. Great presentations today, Joanna. I'm glad you're able to make it happen, and look forward to working with you more on getting this launched.
Awesome. Thank you everybody for attending today.
Thanks. Have a great day. We'll talk to everyone soon. Bye-bye.